Welcome back to the Southern Scene on WSAV. Last week, we introduced you to author and motivational speaker Jenny Lynn Anderson. Her story is compelling. Her book, Room 939, 15 Minutes of Horror, 20 Years of Healing. A true story about her own healing after a traumatic sexual assault that she lived through. Today, we continue her story.
It haunted me for years. But 2 years ago, when I started writing this book, I decided, finally, that either he was going to keep me in bondage the rest of my life and keep me in this prison that I had been in, or that I was going to finally take the power away from him and write this book and speak about it in hopes of changing lives in the future and saving lives in the future.
Before you got to that moment, after the assault that you went through 20 years back.
Yes.
Because you just wrote this book 2 years ago, there's a lot of time in there. You had a lot of healing that you had to go through.
It really severely impacted me. I was left with post-traumatic stress. And you know, you have a lot of viewers in your audience who are here serving the military. And I tell people that I have never seen a battlefield, but I've been to war. I spent many years just so scared of life. You know the expression, it scared the life out of me? This event scared the life out of Jenny Lynn Anderson.
Which is so hard for me to even fathom, because I knew you growing up. And so, you know, when you think of something like this affecting someone so dramatically, it stopped you in your tracks.
It did. It changed me.
So you had a lot of years there that you went through a lot of turmoil.
I did. There was a lot of sadness and grief. I went through every phase of grief because I had lost Jenny Lynn, and I could not find her again because I had lost trust in the world.
You see a lot of folks going through some of the same things. Can you tell our viewers what are some of those things that when you're assaulted in areas like this, I mean, what are some of the things that you go through? Because it's not just a physical assault.
You know, with post-traumatic stress, you're left with a startle response. You're going to be startled a lot. And with that, you know, that can lead to anxiety, and then that can lead, and it led for me to have depression, because those elevated cortisol levels that stay in your brain as a result of post-traumatic stress can lead to depression later. I've been through it all. I mean, you go through just feelings of hopelessness and helplessness, and you just feel like you can't ever overcome this. And, you know, I had to pretend though, because I had 2 children to raise, and I had my husband, and I put on a happy face because I didn't want anybody to know how very horrible I was feeling inside. But
so it's kind of like you felt like a shell, basically. I mean, you felt like a shell of a person.
You pretend a lot.
So it's a facade.
It's a big facade, and you know, our society doesn't know what to do with this. I was assaulted, and I didn't want to be labeled a sexual assault victim, and our society, though, just doesn't really know how to talk about this, because really after people knew I had been assaulted in the hotel. It was pretty public, but it's like no one ever came up to me, Natalie, and said, Jenny Lynn, I might can help you. Everybody just went quiet, mute, because they don't know what to say to you, therefore they say nothing. And it's not that they don't care. They loved me. I have a community in Statesboro who loved me, but they didn't know what to do with this. And so they stayed quiet, and I stayed quiet because I took their cues. I thought, well, nobody wants to talk about this, and I'm certainly not going to talk about this, so I went quiet, which is so unlike me. I'm not quiet. Have you ever known me to be quiet?
I've never known you to be
quiet.
But
I was quiet about this. I stayed mum for years because I sensed that nobody could deal with this. And so I just really lived with so much sadness in my heart, just thinking that I was never going to recover from this.